Welcome to Crossdressing Stories. Here, we share personal stories, celebrate self-expression. If you're on your own journey or simply curious, you've found your community. Subscribe and join the conversation.
His name was Noah, and he was going to kiss me. My mind went completely blank. The chaotic noise of the after-school parking lot, the shouting, the car engines, the distant slam of a locker, all of it dissolved into a dull, distant hum. There was only the space between us, charged with a strange electricity. He smelled like clean laundry and the subtle, spicy cologne he always wore. "I've been waiting to do this," he whispered. Then he leaned down, and his lips met mine. It was gentle, almost hesitant, a soft, warm pressure that sent a shockwave through my entire system. Every fear, every tangled knot of confusion, every ounce of rage I held for my parents, it all just vanished. It was replaced by this one, singular, overwhelming sensation. My eyes had fluttered shut automatically. My first kiss. Leo had never been kissed, but Lily had. When he pulled back, I opened my eyes. He was looking at me, a hopeful, anxious expression on his handsome face. In that moment, with the taste of his lip balm still on my lips and my heart hammering against the fitted fabric of my school uniform polo, the last piece of my old self crumbled into dust. The punishment had become my reality. The lie had become my life. I was a boy named Leo, but a boy named Noah had just kissed a girl named Lily. And for one terrifying, breathtaking second, I wasn't sure which one of them was me. But it didn't start with a kiss. No, that's not right. It started way before that, with a stupid dare, a can of spray paint, and the side of Mr. Davies' brand new garage. But the part that really mattered, the moment my world cracked open and swallowed my old life whole, started with just 4 words from my dad. "Go to your room." He said it in that low, quiet voice that was always 1,000 times scarier than his yelling. I'd been caught red-handed by Mr. Davies himself. The police were called. My parents had to come down to the station. The car ride home was silent, which was also worse than yelling. The air was so thick with their disappointment it felt like I was breathing water. I trudged up the stairs, my feet heavy, expecting the usual grounding. No phone, no video games. A summer spent mowing the lawn and repainting Mr. Davies' garage. I could handle that. I deserved that. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my worn-out sneakers, waiting for the verdict. The door opened, but it wasn't my dad. It was my mom, Helen. She was holding a black trash bag in one hand. In the other, she held my dad's electric razor. "Take off your clothes," she said. The words didn't register at first. They were just sounds, disconnected from meaning. I looked up at her, confused. Her face was a mask, not angry, not sad, just blank. It was the face of a surgeon about to perform a difficult operation. "What?" I managed to ask, my voice a squeak. "You heard me, Leo. Take them off. All of them." A cold dread, sharp and icy, began to creep up my spine. This wasn't about the garage. This was something else. Something I couldn't even begin to understand. "Mom, I'm sorry," I pleaded. "I'll do anything. I'll paint the whole house. I'll work all summer." "I won't. Take off your clothes." She said each word slowly, precisely, like she was chipping away at my defiance. She set the trash bag down on the floor with a soft crinkle. The sound was deafening in the silence. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely unbutton my jeans. I felt a wave of shame wash over me, hot and sickening. I was 13 years old, almost 14. Being told to strip in front of your own mother felt fundamentally wrong. I kicked off my sneakers, peeled off my socks, and fumbled with the button on my jeans. The zipper was a harsh, metallic sound. I stepped out of them, leaving them in a heap on the floor. I was just in my t-shirt and boxer shorts. "Everything, Leo," she said, her voice unwavering. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. I pulled my t-shirt over my head. Then, with my back turned to her, I hooked my thumbs into the waistband of my boxers and slid them down. The cool air of the room hit my bare skin, and I felt goosebumps erupt all over. I stood there shivering, my arms crossed over my chest, feeling more exposed and vulnerable than I had ever felt in my life. This was so much worse than a lecture. This was a systematic dismantling. She walked around me, her eyes clinical and detached. She wasn't looking at me, her son. She was looking at a project, a canvas. "Turn around," she ordered. I did, my eyes fixed on a crack in the ceiling paint. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't bear to see the expression on her face. "Your father and I are deeply disappointed," she began, her voice still eerily calm. "You've brought shame to this family. You acted like a thoughtless, destructive little punk. We tried raising a son. Clearly, that's not working. So, we're going to try something different." She picked up the electric razor. The low hum it made when she switched it on vibrated through the floorboards and up my legs. "We're not raising a son anymore, Leo. For the rest of the summer, we're going to raise a daughter. We're going to see if a girl knows how to behave better than a boy." My head snapped up. "What? You can't be serious, Mom. That's crazy." "Is it?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Is it crazier than spray painting a neighbor's property?" "Sit on the edge of the tub." My mind was reeling. A daughter? What did that even mean? It was a joke. It had to be a cruel, twisted joke. But the look in her eyes told me she was dead serious. I stumbled into my bathroom, which connected to my room, and sat on the cold porcelain edge of the bathtub, my body still shaking. "Lift your leg," she commanded. I lifted my leg, my limb feeling like a lead weight. She took a can of shaving cream from the counter, shook it, and sprayed a long white line of foam from my ankle to my knee. The foam was cold. The hum of the razor got louder as she brought it closer. "This is insane," I whispered, more to myself than to her. "The only thing insane here was your behavior," she said flatly, and then the razor touched my shin. The sensation was bizarre. The vibration buzzed against my bone as she drew the razor up my leg in a long, smooth stroke, leaving a clean, bare path in the foam. She worked with an unnerving efficiency, turning my leg this way and that, covering every inch in foam, and then scraping it away. The hair that had just started to get thick on my legs, the hair I'd been secretly sort of proud of, disappeared in clumps of white foam that she rinsed down the drain. She did both legs, my armpits, and then she looked at my chest. There wasn't much there, just a few stray hairs, but she lathered it up anyway and shaved it smooth. I watched, horrified, as my body was methodically stripped of its emerging masculinity. The skin she left behind was pale and strange, slick to the touch. When she was done, she handed me a towel. "Rinse off in the shower." "Use this," she said, pointing to a pink bottle of cherry blossom-scented body wash. "And don't take all day." I stood under the hot water, my mind a blank slate of shock. I washed with the ridiculously sweet-smelling soap, the scent clinging to my now unfamiliar skin. My legs felt slippery against each other. It was a weird, unsettling feeling. When I got out, my old clothes were gone. In their place, laid out carefully on the closed toilet seat, was a small pile of fabric I didn't recognize. At the top of the pile was a pair of panties. They were made of white cotton but trimmed with delicate blue lace. I stared at them, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. This couldn't be real. This was a nightmare. I had to wake up. I pinched my arm hard, but the sting was real. And I was still standing there, dripping on the bath mat. "Get dressed, Lily." Her voice came from the other side of the door. Lily. She'd called me Lily. The name hit me like a physical blow. "My name is Leo," I said, my voice cracking. "Not anymore," she replied, her tone leaving no room for argument. "Now put on your clothes and come out here." My hands were shaking as I picked up the panties. The fabric was soft, so much softer than my boxers. Stepping into them felt like a betrayal of my entire existence. They were snug, the lace scratching faintly against my hips, the thin piece of fabric in the back a constant, humiliating presence. It felt both constricting and incredibly exposing at the same time. Next was a bra. It wasn't a real bra, more like a training bra, a simple white cotton thing, but it had two small, squishy pads tucked into the cups. Silicone, I'd realize later. They were meant to give the illusion of small breasts. She'd thought of everything. I struggled with the clasp in the back, my fingers clumsy and useless. After a minute of fumbling, I gave up, pulled it on over my head, and adjusted the straps on my shoulders. The band was tight around my ribs. I looked at my reflection in the steamed-up mirror. The faint outline of the pads pushed out the thin cotton of the bra, creating two small, perfectly symmetrical bumps on my chest. I saw a stranger staring back at me. That wasn't me. It couldn't be. Lily, I'm not going to wait all day. I took a deep breath and opened the bathroom door. My mom was sitting on my bed, a makeup bag opened next to her. She looked me up and down, a flicker of something satisfaction in her eyes. Much better. Sit, she said, patting the spot on the floor in front of her. I sat, my new smooth legs crossed awkwardly. For the next 20 minutes, she worked on my face. She started with a foundation that felt like a cold, wet mask, covering up the few pimples I had. Then came a dusting of powder that made me want to sneeze. She brushed a soft peach color onto my cheeks, which she called blush. She used a scary-looking metal device to curl my eyelashes, making me flinch every time it clamped down. Then, a coat of black mascara that made my lashes look longer and thicker. The final touch was a slick of glossy pink lip gloss that felt sticky and tasted like strawberries. With every brushstroke, every dab of color, I felt myself disappearing. Leo was being painted over, erased. In his place was this doll, this creation of my mother's. When she was finally satisfied, she stood back to admire her work. There. Now you look like a proper young lady. She reached for the trash bag she'd brought in earlier. It wasn't for trash. It was full of clothes. She pulled out a dress. It was a pastel yellow sundress with little white daisies embroidered on it. It had thin spaghetti straps and a skirt that flared out from the waist. Along with it came a pair of white frilly ankle socks and a pair of shiny black Mary Jane shoes. The dress slid over my head easily, the fabric cool and light against my skin. It felt wrong. Utterly, completely wrong. The air from the open window brushed against my bare legs, a sensation I'd never felt while wearing shorts. It was chilling. I put on the socks and buckled the unfamiliar straps on the shoes. My mom led me to the full-length mirror on the back of my closet door. Look, she said. I forced my eyes up. I saw a boyish face, yes, but it was softened by makeup. The eyes looked bigger, darker. The lips were shiny and pink. The body was slender, and the dress created the illusion of a waist. The small bumps on my chest gave my silhouette a subtle, but definite female curve. My hair, cut in a standard boy's style, was the only thing that seemed out of place. A single tear escaped and traced a clean path through the foundation on my cheek, carrying a black streak of mascara with it. My mother sighed, a sound of pure exasperation. Oh, for heaven's sake. Don't cry. You'll ruin my work. She grabbed a tissue and expertly repaired the damage, her touch firm and impersonal. Then she opened my closet and, with methodical precision, started taking out all of my clothes, my jeans, my t-shirts, my hoodies, my sneakers, everything that was me. She stuffed them all into the black trash bags. What are you doing? I asked, my voice choked with panic. You won't be needing these anymore, Lily, she said, not even looking at me. A young lady doesn't wear such things. She was erasing me. She was literally throwing my entire identity into a trash bag. That's when the dam broke. I started to sob, ugly, gasping sobs that shook my whole body. It was all too much. The shaving, the underwear, the makeup, the dress. And now this. Stop it, she snapped. Stop it right now. This is the consequence of your actions. You wanted to act out, this is what happens. Now, you have one more thing to do. You're going to go next door and you are going to apologize to Mrs. Davies. Like this. I wailed, gesturing at my ridiculous outfit. Exactly like this, she confirmed, her voice devoid of any sympathy. I'm going to introduce you as my niece, Lily, who is staying with us for the summer. You will be polite, you will be sweet, and you will apologize for the unfortunate incident caused by my delinquent son. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. She wasn't just punishing me, she was making me an accomplice in my own humiliation. She grabbed my hand, her grip like iron, and pulled me out of the room, down the stairs, and out the front door into the bright, unforgiving summer afternoon. The walk across our lawn to the Davies' front door was the longest walk of my life. The grass tickled my bare ankles. The sun felt hot on my shoulders. The stupid patent leather shoes clicked on the pavement. I felt like every window on the street had eyes, all of them staring at me. Mrs. Davies answered the door, a kind, grandmotherly woman with flour on her apron. Her eyes widened slightly when she saw me. "Helen," she said to my mom. "And who is this lovely young lady?" "Martha, this is my niece, Lily," my mom said, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "She's staying with us for the summer." "Lily, this is Mrs. Davies." My mom squeezed my hand hard. It's nice to meet you," I mumbled, my voice coming out high and thin. I hated the sound of it. "Lily has something she wants to say to you," my mom prompted. I took a shaky breath. I wanted to say, "I'm really sorry about what my cousin Leo did to your garage. It was a terrible thing to do." Saying my own name in the third person felt like I was talking about a ghost. Mrs. Davies' face softened. She reached out and patted my cheek. Her hand was warm and smelled like yeast. "Oh, you sweet thing. It's not your fault. Thank you for coming over to say that. What a polite, well-mannered girl you are. It's a pleasure to meet you, Lily." Her words were meant to be kind, but they felt like hot coals on my skin. A polite, well-mannered girl. She was praising the very thing that was destroying me. "Well, we'll let you get back to your baking," my mom said cheerfully, pulling me away. As we turned to leave, I saw him. Kevin Miller. He was in my grade at school. He was riding his bike down the street. His head turned in our direction. Our eyes met for a split second. I saw confusion, then a flicker of dawning recognition on his face. He swerved, almost falling off his bike, but he kept looking. He had seen me. He had seen Lily. My blood ran cold. The public humiliation was one thing. Being seen by someone from school, that was a whole new level of terror. My mom didn't notice. She was too busy staring me back towards our house, humming a little tune. But I knew the summer had just begun, and my secret was already in danger. The nightmare was real, and it was just getting started. The next week was a blur of quiet, structured misery. My days were no longer my own. They were Lily's. I woke up, and the first thing I had to do was put on a dress. My mom had bought a few more simple, girlish things in pastel colors. Then came the makeup routine, which she supervised every morning until I could do it myself without looking like a clown. My meals were served on smaller plates. "Young ladies watch their figures," she'd say with a thin smile. My chores changed too. No more mowing the lawn. Instead, I was taught how to dust, how to fold laundry her way, and how to help with dinner. Every morning, I'd wake up hoping it was all a dream. And every morning, the sight of a pale blue sundress laid out on my chair would bring the reality crashing back down. The hardest part was my own body. My legs were always smooth now. Shaving had become a non-negotiable part of my morning shower routine. The feel of the training bra against my skin, the slight weight of the silicone inserts, was a constant reminder of the role I was being forced to play. I learned to move differently. I couldn't plop down on the couch. I had to sit with my knees together so the dress wouldn't fly up. I couldn't run. I had to take smaller, more deliberate steps in the flimsy Mary Janes. I was being rebuilt, piece by piece, into someone I didn't recognize. The incident with Kevin Miller had left me in a cold sweat for days. I was terrified he would tell everyone at school. But the days passed and my phone, which my parents had thankfully not taken away, probably because Lily would need one, remained silent. No mocking texts, no social media posts. Maybe he hadn't recognized me after all. Maybe it was just a weird mirage on a hot summer day. I clung to that hope like a lifeline. Just as I was starting to fall into a numb, resigned routine, my mother announced a new phase of the project. "Your hair is a mess, Lily," she said one morning at breakfast, eyeing my standard boy's haircut with disapproval. "It just doesn't fit the picture. We're going to the salon today." A new wave of panic washed over me. The salon? With the big windows facing the street where people could see? "No, Mom, please," I begged. "My hair is fine. It's a pixie cut. Lots of girls have short hair." "Don't be silly," she dismissed. "We're not giving you a pixie cut. We're giving you proper, feminine hair." I made an appointment for 11. The car ride was silent. I stared out the window, my hands clenched into fists in the lap of my lavender dress. The salon was called the Style Spot. It was exactly as I'd feared, a big, open room with floor-to-ceiling windows. It smelled overwhelmingly of chemicals and hairspray. A woman with impossibly red, spiky hair greeted us. "Helen, so good to see you. And this must be the niece you told me about." "Oh, aren't you just adorable?" she gushed, pinching my cheek. I flinched. "This is Lily," my mom said, "and she needs a transformation." I was thinking some nice soft curls, something to frame her face. I was led to a chair and draped in a plastic cape. The stylist, whose name was Brenda, chatted away as she wet my hair. "Oh, we are going to have so much fun with this. You have such a great face shape for curls. It'll really soften your features, you know." I just stared at my reflection in the giant mirror. The boy in the chair looked terrified. Brenda started applying a foul-smelling chemical solution to my hair, section by section, rolling each one tightly onto pink and gray plastic rods. The solution stung my scalp. The rods were pulled so tight it felt like my hair was being ripped out. The worst part was the waiting. I had to sit there, a plastic cap over my head full of chemical-soaked rollers, while other customers came and went. A few of them smiled at me, that same patronizing smile Mrs. Davies had given me. "Oh, getting her first perm. How exciting," one woman said to her friend. I wanted to melt into the floor. After what felt like an eternity, Brenda rinsed the chemicals out and began to take out the rollers. As each one was removed, a tightly coiled spring of hair bounced free. When she was done, she took a blow dryer with a weird claw-like attachment and began to dry it. My short, straight hair was gone. In its place was a halo of soft brown curls that fell to my chin. They bounced when I moved my head. Brenda spun my chair around to face the mirror for the big reveal. "Ta-da! What do you think? Isn't it just gorgeous?" I stared, speechless. The change was dramatic. The curls did exactly what she and my mom had said they would. They softened the angles of my jaw, framed my face, and made me look prettier. It was a terrifying thought. The hair, more than the dress or the makeup, made Lily feel real. I could almost believe the reflection was of a girl. "Oh, Brenda, it's perfect," my mother exclaimed. "Exactly what I wanted." As my mom paid, Brenda leaned in close to me. "You know what would really complete the look?" she whispered conspiratorially. "Some little sparkly earrings." Before I could protest, my mother had overheard. "That's a wonderful idea." And that's how I found myself sitting in a different chair, a woman aiming a small plastic gun at my earlobe. "Just a little pinch, sweetie," she said. The pop of the gun was loud next to my ear, followed by a sharp, hot sting. She did the other side just as quickly, then twisted in two tiny fake diamond studs. They felt heavy, a foreign weight pulling on my ears. They were a permanent mark, a brand. I could take off the dress, wash off the makeup, but the holes in my ears would still be there. I touched one of the studs with my fingertip. It was a point of no return. We walked out of the salon, me with my bouncy curls and sparkling ears, feeling even less like myself than before. The transformation was becoming more thorough, more complete. A few days later, a new crisis emerged. I was at Mrs. Davies' house. My mother, having sent me over with a plate of cookies as a neighborly gesture, was encouraging these little visits. Mrs. Davies' granddaughter, Sarah, was visiting. She was my age, a bubbly, energetic girl with a long blonde ponytail. "Oh my gosh, I love your hair," Sarah said the moment she saw me. "The curls are so cute and your earrings are so pretty." Thanks," I mumbled, my cheeks burning. "Hey, I'm having some friends over for a pool party on Saturday. You should totally come." "It'll be fun," she said, her eyes wide and expectant. My heart plummeted into my stomach. A pool party? A pool party meant swimsuits. It meant there would be no way to hide my flat chest or the undeniable truth of my anatomy. "Oh, I don't know," I stammered. "You have to come," she insisted. "It's at 1 o'clock. Don't be late." I walked home in a daze of pure panic. A pool party. It was impossible. This was it. The punishment would be over because there was no way my mom could force me to do this. I was wrong. When I told her, a slow, calculating smile spread across her face. "A pool party? How lovely. A chance for Lily to make some friends." "I can't go." I burst out. "You know I can't." "What am I supposed to wear?" "A bikini." The thought was so absurd, so horrifying, that it came out as a strangled laugh. "Don't be ridiculous, Lily," she said calmly. "Of course not a bikini. But they make all sorts of wonderful things these days." The next day, a package arrived. Inside was what she called a tankini. It was a two-piece, but the top was a long, flowy tank top that covered my entire torso. The bottom was a little skirt with a built-in brief. The pattern was a cheerful blue and white stripe. The top even had padded cups just like my bras, but these were made of a special waterproof foam. She had once again thought of everything. She'd found a way to make the impossible possible. Saturday arrived like a death sentence. I stood in front of the mirror dressed in the tankini. The skirted bottom was humiliating, but it did its job. The top was loose enough that it didn't cling, and the padded cups gave me the same subtle, feminine shape as my bras. With my curly hair and sparkly earrings, I looked plausible. I looked like a shy girl on her way to a pool party. I felt like a fraud on his way to the gallows. Walking into the Davies' backyard was terrifying. There were about 10 kids there, all splashing and yelling in the pool. Music was blasting from a speaker. Sarah saw me and waved me over. "Lily, you made it. Your swimsuit is super cute," she yelled over the music. I managed a weak smile and set my towel down on a lounge chair. I had no intention of getting in the water. I would just sit here, melt in the sun, and pray for the day to end. "Aren't you getting in?" Sarah asked, dripping water all over me. "Maybe later," I said. "Just want to warm up first." It was a flimsy excuse, but she bought it and cannonballed back into the pool. I sat there for what felt like hours, watching them, feeling a million miles away. Then a voice broke through my thoughts. "You're Sarah's cousin, right? Lily?" I looked up. A boy was standing over me, blocking the sun. He was older, maybe 16, with sandy blonde hair and an easy smile. He was tall and lean, with the kind of casual confidence I could only dream of having. Yeah, my mom's her mom's sister," I lied, the story my mom had concocted coming out automatically. "Cool. I'm Noah, Sarah's older brother," he said, sitting on the edge of the lounge chair next to mine. "You're not going to swim?" "Not really a big swimmer," I said, shrugging. "That's all right. More room for the rest of us," he joked. He had a nice smile. "So, you're staying here for the whole summer?" "Yeah, looks like it," I said. We talked for a while. He asked me about my hometown, and I made one up based on a city I'd read about in a book. He told me about his summer job as a lifeguard at the community pool. He was easy to talk to. He wasn't looking at me like I was a weirdo or a project. He was just looking at me. After about 20 minutes of chatting, he stood up. "Well, I'm going to go cool off. It was nice meeting you, Lily." He paused for a second, then added with another one of those easy smiles, "You're really cute, you know that." And then he turned and dove cleanly into the pool. I just sat there, my heart hammering against my ribs. Cute. He'd called me cute. A boy had called me cute. A strange, unfamiliar warmth spread through my chest. It was a terrifying feeling because for a split second, it didn't feel like humiliation. It felt nice. And that scared me more than anything else. What was happening to me? Was I starting to believe the lie? The line between Leo and Lily, which had been so sharp and clear, was beginning to blur. The encounter with Noah at the pool party left me feeling disoriented for days. His compliment echoed in my head, a confusing mix of validation and self-loathing. Part of me, a small, treacherous part, was flattered. Lily had been called cute. But the rest of me, the Leo part that was still screaming somewhere deep inside, was horrified. I was a boy. A boy being called cute by another boy was not a good thing. It was a sign that the disguise was working too well. My life continued on its new, bizarre track. I mastered the art of walking in Mary Jane's without tripping. I could apply my own mascara without poking myself in the eye. I got used to the feel of a dress brushing against my bare legs. The constant state of panic had subsided into a dull, chronic ache of resignation. This was my life now. There was no point in fighting it. Then, about a month into the summer, my mother dropped the next bombshell. "Your 14th birthday is coming up, Lily," she announced one evening. My heart skipped a beat. My birthday. I had almost forgotten about it in the haze of my new existence. For a fleeting moment, I felt a spark of hope. My birthday. Maybe this was the end date for the punishment. Maybe on my birthday, I could be Leo again. I know, I said carefully, trying to keep the hope out of my voice. Well, we can't let such a special occasion go by without a celebration, she continued, dashing my hopes against the rocks. I'm going to throw you a party. A party? I repeated, my voice hollow. Yes, a proper 14th birthday party for a young lady. I'll invite some of the girls from the neighborhood. Sarah, of course, and a few others. It will be a wonderful chance for you to socialize. An all-girls birthday party for me as Lily. The idea was a special kind of nightmare. Mom, please. No. I don't want a party. I just don't. Nonsense, she said, her tone final. It's already decided. And we'll need to get you a special dress for the occasion. The party dress was a step up from my simple sundresses. It was a confection of shimmering pink satin with a big white bow at the waist and a skirt made of layers of tulle that crinkled when I walked. It was the kind of dress a little girl might dream of wearing to a princess party. On me, it felt like a costume for a tragic play. Along with the dress came my first pair of heels. They weren't high, just little 1-inch white heels, but they changed the way I walked completely, forcing me to balance on the balls of my feet and making my leg muscles ache. My mother finished the look with a slick of shimmery pink lip gloss and a dusting of glitter on my eyelids. I was a living, breathing doll. The day of the party, our living room was decorated with pink and white balloons and streamers. A cake with Happy 14th Birthday Lily, written in swirly pink frosting, sat on the dining room table. It felt surreal, like I had stepped into someone else's life. The guests started arriving around 2 o'clock. Sarah came first, followed by 3 other girls from the neighborhood whom I vaguely recognized. They all brought brightly wrapped presents and gushed over my appearance. Oh my gosh, Lily, your dress is amazing, one of them, a girl named Maya, exclaimed. You're so lucky, said another girl. My mom would never let me wear heels or makeup like that. You look so grown up. Lucky? They thought I was lucky. The irony was so thick I could have choked on it. I just smiled weakly and thanked them, my voice sounding breathy and fake even to my own ears. We played silly party games my mom had organized, ate cake and ice cream, and opened presents. I received a jewelry box, some scented lotion, a diary with a lock and key, and a friendship bracelet kit. Each gift was another brick in the wall of my new identity. I felt like an anthropologist studying a strange, foreign tribe. I watched them gossip about boys, talk about their favorite songs, and complain about their parents. I mostly stayed quiet, nodding and smiling when it seemed appropriate, terrified that if I opened my mouth for too long, a boy's voice or a boy's opinion would come out by accident. At one point, Maya, the girl who'd said I looked grown up, was staring at me with a weird, intense expression. She tilted her head, her eyes narrowed. You know, she said slowly. You look really familiar. Have we met before? My blood ran cold. My carefully constructed world was about to shatter. I could feel the other girls looking at me, waiting for an answer. My mind went completely blank. I don't think so, I stammered. No, I'm sure of it, she insisted. You kind of look like this kid from my school. Leo Black. Do you know him? You could be his sister or something. My heart was beating so fast I was sure they could hear it. I was cornered. Before I could think of a lie, my mom swooped in like a guardian angel of deception. Who wants more cake? She asked brightly, holding up the cake knife. Lily, dear, why don't you help me serve your friends? The moment was broken. Maya's attention was diverted to the cake, and the subject was dropped. I shot my mother a look of pure, terrified gratitude. She just gave me a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. She was always watching, always ready to manage her creation. Just as the party was starting to wind down, the doorbell rang. My mom went to answer it. A moment later, Noah, Sarah's older brother, walked in. Hey, sorry to crash the party, he said with his easy grin. My mom sent me to pick up Sarah. All the girls immediately sat up straighter, their chatter dying down. The sudden presence of an older boy had completely changed the atmosphere in the room. Hey, Noah, Sarah said. We're just finishing up. Noah's eyes scanned the room and then landed on me. He smiled. Hey, Lily. Happy birthday. Thanks, I mumbled, feeling my cheeks flush under the blush. "Wow," he said, his eyes taking in my pink dress and heels. "You clean up nice." The other girls giggled. I just wanted the floor to open up and swallow me. My mom, ever the orchestrator, saw an opportunity. "Well, since the girls are finishing their cake, why don't you two put on some music, Lily? Show Noah how to use the stereo." She was practically pushing me towards him. It was a setup. I walked stiffly over to the old stereo system in the corner, acutely aware of his presence behind me. He smelled good, like clean laundry and that subtle spicy cologne. "So, what kind of music does the birthday girl like?" he asked, leaning against the wall. I don't know. "Anything's fine," I said, fumbling with a CD case. He reached around me, his arm brushing against mine, and picked a CD from the rack. The touch was electric, sending a jolt up my arm. He put it in, and a slow, soft song started playing. "Oh, I love the song," Sarah squealed from the couch. Noah turned to me, a playful look in his eye. "Well, you can't have a birthday party without a birthday dance," he said, holding out his hand. "May I?" This was not happening. This could not be happening. All the girls were watching, their eyes wide. My mom was watching, a pleased smile on her face. Saying no was not an option. It would be rude. It would be boyish. A girl would say yes. My hand was shaking as I placed it in his. His hand was warm and large, and it completely enveloped mine. He led me to the small open space in the middle of the living room and gently pulled me closer. He placed his other hand on my waist, right on the satin bow of my dress. I hesitantly put my free hand on his shoulder. We started to sway slowly to the music. I was stiff as a board, my mind screaming in panic. I was slow dancing with a boy while wearing a pink princess dress. This was the most surreal moment of a very surreal summer. My head was level with his chest. I could hear his heartbeat, a steady, calm rhythm against the frantic pounding of my own. I kept my eyes fixed on the top button of his shirt, unable to look at his face. "Relax," he murmured, his voice low and close to my ear. "I don't bite." I took a shaky breath and tried to loosen up, to follow his lead. His hand on my waist was firm but gentle. The fabric of my dress was a thin barrier between his palm and my skin, and I could feel the warmth of his hand seeping through. As we swayed, the layers of my tulle skirt brushed against his legs. The initial terror began to subside, replaced by a confusing whirlwind of other emotions. I was acutely aware of every point of contact between us, our hands, his hand on my waist, my hand on his shoulder, the way our legs occasionally brushed against each other. It wasn't entirely unpleasant. In fact, there was a part of me, a part one refused to acknowledge, that felt safe, protected. "You're really quiet," he said, his voice a soft rumble. "Sorry," I whispered. "Don't be sorry," he said. "It's nice." He shifted his hand slightly, his thumb drawing a small, slow circle on my waist. The simple, innocent gesture sent a shiver through me. I finally risked a glance up at his face. He was looking down at me, his expression unreadable in the dim light. There was no mockery in his eyes, no suspicion. Just interest. My mind was at war with itself. "This is wrong. This is a lie. You're a boy," one part screamed. But another, quieter voice whispered, "Why does it feel nice?" The scent of his cologne, the warmth of his hand, the gentle rhythm of the music, it was all creating a strange, intoxicating cocktail of feelings inside me. Fear was there, yes, but it was tangled up with something else, something warm and fluttery in my stomach. Was this what it felt like to have a crush? The thought was so alien, so terrifying, that I almost stumbled. The song ended, but for a second, he didn't let go. We just stood there in the middle of the living room, the quiet chatter of the other girls a distant buzz. Then he gave my hand a gentle squeeze and stepped back, breaking the spell. "Happy birthday, Lily," he said again, his voice soft. The rest of the party was a blur. The girls left, Noah took Sarah home, and I was left alone in a sea of pink balloons and discarded wrapping paper. I went up to my room and stared at my reflection. The girl in the pink dress looked back at me, her cheeks flushed, her eyes wide and confused. The dance with Noah had changed something. The punishment had been about humiliation and control, but for those 3 minutes in his arms, It hadn't felt like a punishment at all. And that was the most confusing, terrifying part of it. The lines weren't just blurring anymore. They were starting to dissolve completely. The birthday party marked a turning point. After the slow dance with Noah, a subtle shift occurred in my mother's strategy. The punishment was no longer just about confinement and humiliation within the four walls of our house. It became about pushing Lily out into the world. My mom started inventing reasons for me to leave the house: a trip to the library to get books a young lady would enjoy, a walk to the corner store for milk. Each trip was a high-wire act, a test of my ability to perform my role convincingly. My interactions with Noah became more frequent and more confusing. He'd find excuses to come over when he knew Sarah was visiting me. We'd talk on the porch swing, him telling me about his friends and his car, me feeding him a carefully curated narrative about Lily's fictional life. Each conversation left me feeling more like a traitor to myself. I was getting good at being Lily. I knew what she would say, how she would laugh, a soft, breathy sound, nothing like Leo's boisterous laugh. And every time Noah would smile at me or call me cute, that treacherous warmth would bloom in my chest, a flower growing in poisoned soil. The summer was drawing to a close. The late August air had a hint of coolness in the evenings, a promise of autumn, and, more terrifyingly, of school. I had been pushing the thought of school to the very back of my mind, treating it like a monster under the bed. If you don't look at it, it can't get you. School meant the end of the summer. Surely it also meant the end of Lily. My parents couldn't send me to school like this. It was one thing to parade me around the neighborhood as a niece. It was another thing entirely to send me into the halls of Northwood High, where hundreds of kids knew Leo Black. The punishment had to end. It just had to. I was in my room, reading one of the sappy romance novels the librarian had recommended for Lily, when my mom came in. She was holding a flyer from the mall. "Good news, Lily," she said, her voice cheerful. "The back-to-school sales have started. We're going uniform shopping tomorrow." I stared at her, the book forgotten in my lap. "Uniform shopping?" "Yes, you'll need a new uniform for your first day at Northwood," she said, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. The monster under the bed had just crawled out and was smiling at me. "No," I said, my voice shaking. "No, the summer is almost over. This whole thing is over, right? I can be Leo again for school." My mother's smile faded. She sat on the edge of my bed, her expression turning serious. "Did you really think this was just for the summer, Leo? Did you think you could cause that much trouble, bring that much shame on this family, and it would all be forgotten after a few months of playing dress-up?" Her use of my real name was a shock. She hadn't said it in weeks. It was like a weapon she had kept in reserve. "This isn't just a punishment anymore," she continued, her voice low and intense. "This is a correction. You have been a pleasant, well-behaved, and helpful young lady all summer. As Lily, you're a daughter we can be proud of. As Leo, you were a disappointment. Your father and I have discussed it. Lily is staying." The blood drained from my face. I felt dizzy. You can't send me to school like this. Everyone knows me. They'll kill me." "No one will know you," she said calmly. "We're enrolling you as a new student, Lily Black. A transfer from out of state. I've already taken care of the paperwork." Paperwork. She had forged school documents. This was a level of premeditation I couldn't comprehend. This wasn't just a punishment. It was an abduction of my identity. That's when the fight, which had been dormant for so long, came roaring back to life. "No," I yelled, jumping off the bed. "I won't do it. You can't make me. I'll tell everyone. I'll go to school and I'll stand up in the cafeteria and I'll tell them all that you're insane, that you forced me into this." I was shouting, my voice cracking, tears of rage and terror streaming down my face. I was Leo again, angry and defiant. My mother didn't flinch. She just watched me, her eyes cold. When I finally ran out of breath, sputtering and sobbing, she spoke. "You could do that," she said softly. "You could try. But I want you to think very, very carefully about what happens next. You think this has been bad? You think wearing a dress and some makeup is the worst it can get?" She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Your father has been very patient with my methods. He agreed to let me handle this my way, but his patience has its limits. He still thinks this is too soft. He has other ideas, much more permanent ideas. Ideas that involve doctors and hormones and things that can't be undone. Do you understand me? If you fight me on this, I will hand you over to him. And trust me, Leo, you will beg to be Lily again. The threat hung in the air between us, monstrous and unthinkable. Hormones. Doctors. The word struck me with the force of a physical blow. I didn't fully understand what she meant, but I understood the menace behind it. She was telling me there was a level of hell below the one I was already in. The fight drained out of me as quickly as it had appeared, replaced by a cold, hollow despair. I sank back onto my bed, defeated. I looked at her, at the unwavering resolve in her eyes, and I knew I had lost. There was no escape. She had blocked every exit. I started to cry again, but this time they were not tears of rage. They were tears of surrender, quiet, hopeless sobs for a life that was now officially over. "I'm glad you see it my way," she said, her voice returning to its normal, pleasant tone. "We'll go shopping tomorrow at 10. Get a good night's sleep. You'll want to look your best." The next day was a blur of quiet compliance. My mother took me to the mall, and I followed her like a shadow into the girls' department. I watched, detached, as she assembled the pieces of Lily's new life: a gray pleated skirt, a blazer cut for a girl, knee-high socks, and finally, a purple backpack covered in tiny white daisies. Each item was another nail in Leo's coffin, and I didn't raise a hand to stop her from hammering them in. The fight was gone, replaced by a hollow emptiness. By the time we returned home, the uniform was no longer a threat. It was a physical reality, waiting for me in a collection of shopping bags. The last week of summer passed in a fog. I spent most of it in my room, staring at the new uniform hanging on my closet door. The gray pleated skirt and navy blazer looked like a costume for a play I never auditioned for. The purple flowered backpack sat in the corner, a symbol of my total surrender. My mother was cheerful, almost giddy, bustling around the house, labeling new school supplies with Lily Black in her neat, perfect handwriting. She was proud of her creation. The blazer, which felt tight across my shoulders. I stared at the stranger in the mirror. This preppy, put-together schoolgirl. She looked ready for her first day. She looked nothing like me. My mom came into the fitting room to inspect me. "It fits perfectly," she declared. "Very smart. You look like a model student." I didn't say a word. I just changed back into my dress, my movements slow and heavy. We paid for the uniform, along with several pairs of the knee-high socks and 2 extra polo shirts. The final stop was for a backpack. My mother led me to a display of them. They were covered in flowers, polka dots, and glitter. Last year, I'd gotten a plain black JanSport. This year, my mother picked up a bag that was light purple with a pattern of tiny white daisies all over it. "This one is sweet, don't you think?" she asked. This was the final test. The last small piece of the puzzle. I could have protested. I could have pointed to a plain one. It wouldn't have mattered in the grand scheme of things, but it would have been a tiny act of defiance, a flicker of the old Leo. But there was no defiance left. The threat of my father, of doctors and hormones, had extinguished it completely. If compliance was the price of avoiding that, I would pay it. I reached out and took the purple-flowered backpack from her. I slid it onto my shoulders. It felt light, insignificant. "Yeah," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "It's fine." I saw the look of final victory in her eyes. She had won. She had not just beaten me, she had broken me. As we walked out of the store and into the bright, indifferent light of the mall, I clutched the straps of my new backpack. I was Lily Black now, and Lily Black was going to high school. There was no turning back. The last week of summer passed in a fog. I spent most of it in my room, staring at the new uniform hanging on my closet door. The gray pleated skirt and navy blazer looked like a costume for a play I never auditioned for. The purple flowered backpack sat in the corner, a symbol of my total surrender. My mother was cheerful, almost giddy, bustling around the house, labeling new school supplies with Lily Black in her neat, perfect handwriting. She was proud of her creation. The night before the first day of school, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, my heart thumping a nervous rhythm against my ribs. I kept imagining walking through those doors, the pointing, the whispering, the laughter. I imagined running into my old friends. What would I do? What would I say? Morning came too soon. The routine was the same as it had been all summer, but today it felt heavier, more final. Shower, shave, makeup. I did it all on autopilot, my hands moving with a practiced familiarity that I hated. Then the uniform. I pulled on the white polo shirt, then the skirt. The wool was slightly itchy against my thighs. I pulled the navy knee-high socks up and slipped my feet into a new pair of black loafers. I stood in front of the mirror. The transformation was complete. The curly hair, the subtle makeup, the fitted uniform, it all worked together to create a disturbingly convincing illusion. I looked like a girl, a nervous, slightly pale girl on her first day at a new school, maybe, but a girl nonetheless. My mom drove me. When we pulled up to the sprawling brick building of Northwood High, I felt a wave of nausea. Now remember, she said, putting the car in park. You're Lily Black. You just moved here from Portland. You're a little shy, but very sweet. Stick to the story. I know the story, I muttered. She reached over and tucked a stray curl behind my ear. You look lovely, dear. Have a wonderful first day. Her voice was full of genuine maternal affection, and that was the sickest part of it all. In her mind, she had saved me from myself. I got out of the car, the weight of the flowered backpack feeling ridiculous on my shoulders, and joined the river of students flowing toward the main entrance. The noise was the first thing that hit me, the familiar chaotic roar of a high school hallway. But I wasn't a part of it. I was an outsider, an imposter. I was trying to find my locker when I felt eyes on me. Who's the new girl? A guy whispered to his friend. I don't know, but she's cute, his friend whispered back. I had prepared for a battle, but instead, I was passing an audition. Need some help with that? A voice asked. I turned. It was my old best friend, Mark. My heart stopped. My mom had told him I was away at a special camp all summer. He was standing right there, looking at me with a friendly, helpful expression. He didn't recognize me. Yeah, I squeaked out. It's stuck. He expertly spun the dial and the locker clicked open. There you go. First day jitters, huh? He handed my schedule back, his eyes lingering on my face. Hey, do I know you? You look really familiar. My throat closed up. A desperate, insane urge to just tell him, Mark, it's me. It's Leo. Help me rose in my chest. But my mother's threat echoed in my head. Doctors, hormones, things that can't be undone. I forced a small, shy smile, the smile Lily would give. I don't think so, I said softly. I'm new here. I'm Lily. He looked puzzled for another moment, then just shrugged. Oh, cool. I'm Mark. Well, welcome to Northwood, Emily. He walked away. I leaned my forehead against the cold metal of the locker door. Leo was truly dead. I had just helped bury him. The rest of the day was a surreal haze. Girls in my English class invited me to sit with them at lunch. They asked about my old school, and I recited the lies. They gossiped about boys, especially one. Oh my God, did you see Noah Hansen in the hall today? One of them sighed. He is so hot. The final bell rang, and I practically ran out of the school. I was halfway across the parking lot when a voice called my name. Lily. Hey, wait up. It was Noah. He jogged to catch up with me. Hey, he said, falling into step beside me. I saw you in the hall. How was it? Survived? Barely, I admitted, a small, genuine smile touching my lips. I knew you would, he said. We walked to the edge of the student parking lot, and he stopped. Listen, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. He looked nervous, something I'd never seen before. I was kind of waiting for you. You were? I asked, my heart starting that stupid fluttery thing again. Yeah, he said, taking a step closer. I've been waiting to do this. And then he leaned down and he kissed me. It was gentle, almost tentative, his lips soft and warm against mine. My mind went completely blank. Every fear, every piece of confusion, every bit of anger at my parents, it all just vanished, replaced by this one, overwhelming sensation. My eyes had fluttered shut automatically. When he pulled back, I opened them slowly. He was looking at me, a hopeful, anxious expression on his face. My first kiss. Leo had never been kissed. But Lily had. He smiled, a slow, relieved grin. I'll, see you tomorrow. He turned and walked toward his car. I stood there for a long time, my fingers gently touching my lips. I had spent the entire summer fighting against being Lily, mourning the loss of Leo. But the kiss felt real. The feelings it stirred up in me were real. The lie had become my reality. The punishment had become my life. A single, terrifying thought bloomed in the silent, empty space of my mind, a question that would come to define everything. What if I wasn't pretending anymore?